Good evening and welcome to StonesCast episode 82. We're recording on the 3rd of September, the night after an unbelievable 90 minutes of football. I say 90 minutes, 105 or whatever it was minutes of football, with a barnstorming 3-2 win over Southend United. And to react and share that with me this evening, I've got three special guests. I should also make sure, because I always forget to welcome and thank our sponsors at Rollbeast. So joining me on the panel tonight, three wise heads who I'm sure really enjoyed last night as well. Let me introduce Mr. Mark Lloyd.
Hi,
sir.
Evening. Very good, all good.
Good stuff. Also, Sudhir Rawal.
Evening, Hillsy and Lloydie.
And finally, Mr. Chris Cone. How are you,
Good
sir?
Evening.
So, I think the last cast we did was obviously the happy clappy cast where we'd won 3 in a row, and we were sat for a brief moment top of the league. Obviously, what followed then was 3 defeats, but I think it's very hard not to ignore and start with last night's unbelievable game under the lights at the Vale. Let me start by asking the question: Who went into yesterday with any kind of expectation of picking anything up?
We'll go with
I think we were. Yeah, I think we're always good. We can beat any team, I think, in this division. We've proved so far we've been competitive in every single game we've played. We've played through the favourites now, and yeah, of course, we're at home. We can beat anybody. So yeah, there's some expectation.
And as that game developed, we'll obviously talk about the goals we conceded. But as that game went on, I think obviously the players clearly grew in belief. But it was actually, I mean, maybe their first goal, kind of it checked all of the momentum. And it took a real bit of time, I think, really, until the game kind of exploded to life for the fans to kind of, really get on board. How much do you think we speak obviously often about sort of under the lights and the atmosphere, but how much do you think the support played last night in getting us over the line?
I don't think yesterday was particularly fantastic, was it? It wasn't a special night under the lights, but the players reference it all the time. Particularly under the lights, going downhill, second half, there is a momentum. And actually, one of the Rochdale players referenced it on Saturday when he said it's bloody difficult to defend that end. And if you can build up momentum, all of a sudden, anything's possible. Our problem this season has been we just give away silly goals. And that's the bit you've got to worry about. If you can get some momentum going, if you've got and absolutely this team at the moment seems to be so much fitter, stronger, faster than we've probably had in our National League period, that you do believe they are capable of doing things. But, you've got to stop the mistakes.
I mean, but yeah, it's hard not to, and I don't want to make it all about one man because there were 11 heroes across that pitch yesterday. But obviously, Dante didn't have the greatest of performances yesterday. I don't think we need to go into analysing what he didn't do, especially you, Sid. Chris, maybe I'll start with you. It's something we discussed on kind of our WhatsApp group today. But would you stick or twist with him? After 2 glaring errors like that, would you still have him in goal on Saturday? Would you be looking in the loan market? Would you go with Coverland? What would you do if you were StonesCast?
Well, I to be honest, I think of what we've seen from him since the previous regime brought him in. I think he's done a really good job. He's a really agile keeper. He's quick around the box. I mean, there was one yesterday he made a save, and then he was very quickly to react to grab a loose ball. I mean, you can't defend what he did yesterday, but I think he did it twice. I'm sure Jason will be working with him this week to improve that. I think, I wasn't impressed with Coverland when he played the National League game. I think we stick with him. If we can get somebody else in the loan market, then maybe bring them in. But I think I think he's done all right for us, and he made some really good saves last night when we were when we were facing the Alamo towards the end of the game. He did make some really, really good saves. But as I say, I can't forgive what he did. And it was interesting. There was a friend of mine who went to the game for the first time. He hasn't been to Wealdstone for a long time, and he turned around to me and said, "I did notice that none of the players went up to him afterwards, and just gave him a reassurance or anything like that." But what was interesting is that our goal came from their goalkeeper spilling the ball. Our first goal. So was it because the ball was wet? Was it a bit slippy? I don't know. So
he got taken out by his own player, didn't he?
Yeah.
For their goal.
Yeah. I mean, you probably had a better view than we did. I mean, we didn't even know the ball had gone in the net. I think I'd stick with him. Obviously, I wouldn't bring Coverland in. But if there are better opportunities that come along in the loan market, then let's go for it. But I think it's the best of what we got, and I think he's proved himself over the last few games. I mean, the other, obviously we come on to Boston. That was a bit of an error there, I guess. But I think his actual shot saving is very good.
It's interesting you say about no one came to sort of pick him up or whatever after that first goal. But if you watch people like Georgiou, he's turned and he's already going up pitch looking for the ball. He didn't. I don't think people even realised it got in for a while. Mark, would you be picking Dante on Saturday?
I would definitely be changing him. I mean, he's made those two rickets, and the second one sort of flew off the turf. It's still a mistake, but yeah, it's kind of forgivable. The first one, obviously, not so much. Although give you the ball if it be, but yeah, those are two pretty basic goalkeeping errors. Of course, he's going to stick with him. He's chosen him from the beginning of the season. Coverland is just back up. However, I mean, if he continues to make mistakes, I mean, he did make something of a mistake for the second Boston goal.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if those keep happening, then obviously, things have to change. Was it a couple of years ago? Who was throwing him in a couple of years ago? Was it Jed Ward?
I was just thinking that, yeah.
Time,
he had
a couple of years ago, and I was saying, we have to change him. It's 2 years ago? Probably was. Anyhow,
but even the Fulham guy, he made a few.
So in short, stick with him.
Sid?
Well, as a goalkeeper, I've been there. I've been there more than on many occasions when you make an absolute ricket. I think I'd stick with him. I think Coverland isn't the answer. I think everything you hear about him and you read about him, he's a ricket in the making as well. I think if you go back 4 months, 5 months when Gibson, brought him in instead of Gunter, when Gunter was having a mare, and so I think we probably do need to look at alternatives. I think my worry about Dante is he's a great shot. So I think Chris has sort of outlined some of his skill set. He's a great shot stopper, but he even yesterday the saves he should have made. He tends to push the ball out back into play a bit too much rather than away. I think he's brave. He's brilliant off his line. One-on-ones, he's really good. He makes himself strong. But if you analyse the goals that we've let in this season, I think you can directly blame him for 4.5. So you look at obviously 2 yesterday. You look at the Boston winner, the Woking goal, which was him and Woodman when they fannied around. They fannied around at the back.
Yeah.
That should have been booted out. Now that wasn't a save that he didn't make, but they fannied around, and then he should have got a better hand for the Halifax goal. So I think he saves a lot, and he does a lot of really good things. But he's a bit like Howes, isn't he? There's always a ricket in him. And the other bit that really worries me with him is his passing at the back. He's giving the ball away a bit. So I think we've got to look at the overall package. But absolutely, I'd stick with him. I think
Yeah.
he's earned enough to
I
stick
agree.
through it.
The
And
other
Ward
thing,
bit, Jed Ward made a probably even bigger clanger, or probably equally bad clanger, and he was superb after that.
Yeah.
I was just going to say that, you're right with his passing around the back, but actually when he kicks the ball long, he's got a very good, very accurate long ball on him, which again can be useful. But I agree with you, the passing around the back and the fact that he wanders up to the halfway line as well gives me the collie wobbles.
Well, he's already
He's been chipped once, hasn't he? And he nearly got chipped another time. So it's part of his game, and
I think the style of goalkeeper that he is, even if we did go out to the loan market, we're going to go and look for someone in that mould anyway, because that's how Cox wants us to play. And I'm hoping, because I like him, and I think he's a character as well. I'm hoping that will give him a little jolt, a little sharpen up. He needs to clearly improve his concentration, but I do hope he comes out on the right side of it, and he'll face.
That first goal as a goalkeeper, that's it's just something that's gone badly wrong. You there's no accounting for it. He's just not gone down. He's not got his body behind the ball. He's not got his hands behind the ball. It is one of those things.
I can only assume he was already thinking about what he was going to do with it, and he's taking his eye off the ball, because it's almost inexplicable. But enough of Dante. Just coming back to the Southend spectacle as a whole. Where did that game rank in your kind of Vale moments? Obviously we've had some epic games, the Barnet games, and Grimsby game, I think, is the one that always stands out for people on sort of under the lights. But where did that game rank for you, and what will that do for us for this season?
I honestly think it's another game when the National League side, we're comfortable. Well, we're an established National League side. Those are the nights that we should be expecting. We shouldn't be seeing that as something special. The atmosphere wasn't unbelievable. We haven't come back from behind. Yes, it's a great evening game under the lights with a big crowd against the belt, and we've won. But we've done that a few times now.
Yeah, it was nice to see.
We're getting used to it, really. These implications.
Sam Cox.
The good thing is there was a lot of youngsters there last night in the Buller, and the more times we can have these sort of games, we're going to keep pulling these girls and girls back, which is really really great to see.
The game obviously kind of came to life in the second half with the award of eventually the penalty by the referee. And I don't know how much you guys saw. Obviously, I had a pretty good view from the commentary box of Sam Cox and Kevin Maher's spat that obviously saw both of them sent off. I didn't see it necessarily start, and I understand. I think maybe Sam encroached, and but there was certainly some shall we say raised fists. But Sam came out, and obviously in his interview after the game last night, he spoke about Wealdstone not being bullied, and I found that really refreshing to hear that coming from him. That this is our patch, and we've always spoken about making the Vale a fortress, but it's the first time that we've kind of come out swinging. I think it was nice to hear. I don't know if you guys kind of thought the same or had any other views from the game that you want to kind of share.
I think I think we've got a team that backs it up. That's the difference. We've got a team that is reportedly bullying the opposition. When have we had that? And I think what Cox has done well, he's sort of got a representation of what you would see on the academy side: big, strong, athletic individuals, a little bit further on in their advancement. So it is quite a typical academy side because they are physical specimens, and we seem to have specimens across the pitch. And we aren't going to be bullied. We're not going to be pushed around. And you're right, it is refreshing, but you've got to back it up. And, nights like last night, they've done that.
But you compare last night's game to Saturday's game or the previous games. where we went in for a tackle, we weren't winning the ball. Last night we went into tackle, we won the ball, and if we didn't win the ball, we were still tenacious in winning that ball back. And there were two players almost trying to win that ball off every tackle. And every time we went forward, there was a player on the ball, and there were other players moving around for him and stuff. I think the one thing that stands out for me still, and it has done since we've been in National League, as you said, we played 14 minutes or 15 minutes of additional time yesterday, and we were still fighting, to be in that game. It's remarkable for a part-time team.
Yeah, we did look out on our feet, I thought, though.
Yeah, I spent an enjoyable hour earlier looking at the Southend forum, and it was so many people say how they were out-muscled and bullied by us, and it was men against boys. So it's not see the opposition supporters just realise and reference the sort of side that Cox has built here. It's a big, it's a big athletic side, and yeah, it doesn't look like we're going to get bullied around. We're going to make lots of mistakes. I guess we're going to continue to do that. But yeah, physicality. This is the strongest physical Wealdstone side I think I've ever seen. Possibly.
We'll come and talk. We'll come and talk a little bit more about the squad, and as we're starting to learn about some of these players that we've brought in a moment. But let's just, I don't want to go into too much detail on, but obviously what preceded last night was sort of the bubble bursting a little bit and dampening what was a very good start to the season with 3 defeats. Obviously 2 of them at home to title challengers, Carlisle on the zone, the late kickoff, and then Rochdale on Saturday, and sandwiched in between that with a very disappointing defeat at Boston. Like I say, I don't think we need to necessarily go in and sort of dissect each of them, but maybe I'll just ask the question: What did we learn? What did Sam Cox learn about his squad from those 3 games?
I think he's learned. Well, as Sudhir said, in the mid, it's probably the most solid midfield we've had since we've been at the Vale. I think we're not afraid of anybody really, and to be honest, we've been defeated by some soft goals. Even the Carlisle game, we've got 6-foot defenders, and their man came in with a free header. Simple, but we were still in the game, and they didn't. We weren't overrun at all. And I think even against Rochdale, at 1-0 down, we had a great chance to go 1-1. We didn't take it. Again, it's Carlisle. We had a great chance to go 1-1. So we're in the game, as Mark said. We're in the game. We're going toe to toe with these teams. No one's going to roll us over, I don't think. I don't think we're not going to win every game, obviously, but when we go into a game now, we confidence that we're going to be fighting for it.
Is there I'm going to say a naivety? I'm particularly referencing the Boston game, but is there a naivety, a soft core within the squad? Perhaps that got dispelled last night somewhat, but as you say, the manner of the goals that we conceded very soft, and coming out of games kind of playing well, but not actually getting points on the board.
I think that's probably a typical reference you would make about Wealdstone. We play some nice football, but do we get across? I think, just go back to your original point, what has Sam Cox learned? I think what we learned, I think we're very close to being a half-decent side. And what is the difference? We have not been clinical in the 2 boxes. But you'd probably go back to every manager that we've had in the National League that's spoken about, probably except last season when we had Reed, that we have not been clinical enough in each of the boxes. So if you go to the Carlisle game, a free header, which actually Enzo was marking the guy that scored when you look at it, but we were pretty comfortable in that game, and we had an opportunity when Woodman should have scored. And then Giorgio had a chance right at the end, which fell on his wrong foot. So we had an opportunity. We just weren't clinical enough. So we weren't clinical at the back, and we weren't clinical at the front. We could bypass Boston for the moment. Rochdale, I think they were just a better side. So, I don't think we could really be too upset about the result. We played some nice football, but in the end they were a better team. Boston, I think the reference about naivety, you got it back to 1-1. We were the only team winning that game, and actually, what would have a good side would have gone on and won it, or they certainly wouldn't have lost it.
Yeah,
and we threw it away. So it's those little moments in games where, probably a Rochdale or a Forest Green or a Carlisle or Southend have those players that do the right thing at the right time, and we're just making the wrong decision or making a mistake. But that's where we are as a team, aren't we?
Agreed. Mark, anything to add?
I'm not sure what Cox said that squad really. I think we are competitive in every single game. Even the Rochdale game, we were very close to getting back to 3-2. If it gone 3-2, there's every chance we could have nicked a point out of that. He's still shuffling the pack every now and then. It's been a tremendous start. And I think it's really, really positive. I just think that we're a bit light in certain areas. We're back up to that a bit later. But for what we've got so far, how we've played so far, 12 points from 21 is a pretty good effort. And everybody would have been happy with that at the beginning of the season. Nothing to offer than that.
So that actually leads me nicely on to my next question, actually, which is about expectations and whether expectations now change. 12 points from 7 games. I think all of us would have, absolutely jumped at that chance given where we were. I mean, I referenced the National League preview that I did with Tom and Leo a week or so before the season started, and we all had us going down. Not doomed, maybe as some of us thought should. But yeah, let me ask that question. Has this start to the season after 7 games changed yours or the expectations around the club? Is success still 5th from bottom, or can we dare to dream a little bit more?
I think, based on what we've seen in the last...
I still
I'll say, based on what we're seeing, I think. We always talk about our mini league, don't we? And I think we'll come top of. I think we can come top of our mini league. So I think we could have a nice, comfortable mid-table finish, and we can enjoy the end of the season this year. I think. Let's see where we are after 20 games if we're still in the hunt for the playoffs. But I definitely think we could. Have a Stuart Maynard type finish mid-table.
Yeah, I think for me, I was definitely in the doom category that we signed, before the season started. I think 5th from bottom is still a huge success for us still. The issue will be. I think actually we could certainly do a Maynard, be comfortable mid-table, not worry too much about looking down, have a little flirtation with the playoffs that probably, ultimately finish 13, 14, something like that. That'd be a fantastic bit of success for us, after the last couple of seasons. We are still a way off from anybody thinking we are a playoff side.
Yeah, agreed. Mark, I'm not sure. I know you're having maybe a few sound issues. Are you able to hear us?
I am, yeah. I'm hoping you can. I'll talk anyway. If you can't hear me, you can.
A little bit robotic. I
flag it up
think we
in
can
chat.
just let you up.
Yeah. So, are you hearing me?
Yep.
You are? Okay, cool. Yeah. So, great start, but my expectations haven't changed in the scientists, I still see this finishing in the bottom half. But I'd love to be wrong. I'm usually wrong, so it's going to be tough. I mean, a great start is bonus points towards our target, but yeah, it's going to get much tougher as the season progresses. It's at the moment really. Crawford's 21. It's almost dreamland, but then again, we've got a surfeit of home games, and we need to make the most of those, and we've done it. So yeah, normally that continue, but as far as expectations, yeah, it's still going to be a slog.
Yeah, agreed. And I think as
I can do something to improve my sound.
Sid, I think as you referenced there, I think we have the nucleus of a good side, and yes, clearly we're not going to be troubling the playoffs at this rate. But I think two things. One, I think we're probably 2 players away from being I'm not saying a playoff side, but a side that could comfortably finish mid-table. 2 players away from, or 2 injuries or suspensions away from, going on a long losing run or what have you, and suddenly dropping down the table. I also see, and it's obviously still quite early. People always say 10 games is the sort of point where the table starts taking a bit of shape. But I can see it's already starting to be a bit like last year, where you've got 4 or 5 sides who are a cut above. Maybe we're not going to have an Ebbs fleet who are going to get cut adrift, but the rest of the sides from probably 6th down to 21st, 22nd, I think can all beat each other. So there's fine margins again, I think, as Max, when he's come on before, has alluded to. So, if we can strengthen, maybe this segues nicely into talking about the squad and kind of how we're shaping up and who's hot, who's not. That term I know. But I do think we are not far away from having a real good crack at this season, and hopefully a cup run in there somewhere as well. So I want to start by referencing who I thought was absolutely outstanding last night, probably my man of the match, one of our new players, Nathan Shikuna. I'm amazed by kind of his story, because obviously he kind of made his name at Tamworth. He scored a couple against us last year. Eastleigh, I believe, paid a fee for him in sort of February, March of this year, and then released him a couple of months later. He's obviously found his way with us, and he's, I think, clearly got an eye for goal. But I'm just fascinated about what went on with his time at Eastleigh. But for me, he's a real good player. You're going to probably get 10, 12 goals out of him this year. So I think he's been a massive addition to the squad. Let me just invite your thoughts, whether it's about Shikuna or anyone else in the squad. Who's hot and who's not for you?
I don't think anyone's not been hot, to be fair. Saka-san has, even who's had some very brief moments in the team. When he came on against, I think, was it Carlisle? He caused them a little bit of, caused them some trouble. So he's had his moments. I think across the board, I think what I really liked, actually, when subs come on, they're adding value to the team. Then you're not diminishing the team by bringing a sub on, and you don't feel like the team has got weaker because a particular sub has come on. Our obvious weakness is probably up front. Even after Sean scoring 2 goals, and my sort of very sarcastic comment on our WhatsApp group at the start of the game that Sean's going to shine, and obviously he did. But that is the area that if we could get, and actually maybe Nkrumah, how do you pronounce it?
Nkrumah.
Nkrumah and Sean actually might work together better, and might bring Sean more into the game. But if you had a Reed in that side, and actually you had a Caraval in that side, I think we're not far off. So we're only, and obviously I appreciate both of those players were 4-figure players, so that's adding quite a bit to our wage bill. But I think that's what we needed. We didn't need a tricky winger, a Taryn, a Caraval type of player. and a really 20-goal season player. The rest of it sort of works.
Chris?
Yeah, I don't disagree with that at all. I think, I mean, we've also got Mason Barrett's going to come back at some point. Got Christian Scott. We haven't seen the best of him yet, and he's going to come back and add some bite in midfield. And I thought up front, the Daniel Nkrumah, I thought had a great game again against Boston when he came on. All of a sudden, we had energy, speed, drive, running at the defence, and I think there was a different dynamic last night with him and Sean. I had a quick chat with Sean after the game, and I said to him, "Well taken that penalty." I mean, he took it so coolly, and he said it's the first penalty he's taken for donkey's years. So he took it, especially when he had to wait all that time to take it, and the keeper's trying to wind him up. So, so I agree completely with what Sudhir said. Really, I think number 9 has always been the sort of the bit that we haven't, with the bit of the jigsaw we've never really properly filled unless we've come up. We got lucky with Alex Reid last year.
Who would you say, Hillsy? I mean, you're much more attuned to these things than the most of us.
Who would I say is hot?
Well, what would you bring in?
I think a wily striker, a proper natural finisher. Someone like Southend that last night had Andy Dallas, although he had a quite quiet game. Obviously Alex Reid, someone of his ilk, and I don't know whether we're ever going to get a player like that in again. But if we're gonna look at the loan market and look to an academy, I would hope it is what you would call a proper number 9, a fox in the box, someone who comes alive in the penalty area. You just got to give them service. One thing we've obviously referenced about our team of giants. Dion Woodman, I thought, has been outstanding. He's carried on his form from the back end of last year. I questioned whether he could do that, but he's just growing in stature, and if he continues to do that, I wouldn't be surprised if he wasn't with us for that long. And I was really impressed by Junior Ciencia's start to the season, and I thought it was really unfair on him to lose his place. But Philip Chinedu is, I mean, he's just a joy to watch, man. That kid is an athlete. Well, he's only 18, right? Yeah.
But isn't that the case, Hillsy? So what we're effectively saying, it doesn't really matter who plays in that starting lineup. They're all very capable individuals, and that's probably the first time in a long time where we've had that spread.
Absolutely.
I mean, so Sam Potts' biggest achievement over the pre-season period has been to attract a squad of players of real good quality. That all of them have seemed to be performing, and we haven't even spoken about our midfield yet. I was
going to say, yeah, we're missing one very obvious.
Yeah, absolutely. But even the two, Kaji and Musa have just been strong, physical, dynamic individuals. And we would be moaning on Alex Dyer's, 36-year-old Alex Dyer leaving. What's our midfield been like? And then obviously we've got basically the superstar we haven't even spoken about yet. It's just a Rolls Royce. Yeah,
I mean, Mark, hopefully you're back in the room and you can hear us loud and clear now.
I can certainly hear you a lot better.
Yeah,
can you hear me?
Yeah,
that's a lot better.
Fantastic. Okay, so
the squad hot or not, but let's turn our attentions to our loanee from Millwall. What have you made of his contribution to the side so far?
Yes, he's been outstanding. Incredibly creative. Seems to be a yard ahead of everybody else. I've seen the Millwall fans saying, "What on earth is he doing playing at National League level when he should be a league or two higher than that?" On the evidence we've seen so far, that looks to be pretty accurate. He's if we could keep him for longer, it'd be great. Let's just hope he can't be recalled before January. Because at the moment he's at the heart of most creative things that we do. I mean, does he always anchor midfield? Is that his preferred role for Millwall?
I think so. I know there's sort of been a bit of a clamouring for him to play further forwards.
Yes.
And clearly he is very good at carrying the ball. But I actually think you sometimes lose a little bit there because he did it 3 or 4 times last night. When he's picking the ball up sort of around the centre circle, he's dragging 2 or 3 players towards him, which should be creating space for others further forwards. So I get it. So I think it's quite an obvious thing to say because of his ability to carry the ball. But I think he is very effective back there because he just dictates play. So, we've got plenty of forward options, and obviously Nkrumah kind of, making a real stake for, a starting shirt again on Saturday, I think is a very good thing as well. But yeah, Massey is class. Absolute class. Okay. Anything else to add on the squad?
Did you, while I was offline there, did you touch on Adakwa?
A little bit.
Okay. He's kind of obviously scored 2 goals last night. One was a penalty, another one was a tap in. And he was more effective last night than he has been in most of the games we've seen this season, which is sort of underplays the fact that we've been carrying him for quite a bit and waiting for him to recover this form, which I thought has become a bit mythologized because he had that purple patch for whatever it was, 3-4 weeks a year ago, and we're all hoping he's going to rekindle that, but maybe that never happens again. Maybe he isn't that player. When the loan market, when we dip into the loan market, which I guess is pretty soon, really, that's our obvious area that we need to strengthen. Having said that, I mean, there's him. Nkrumah's looked good in the last couple of games, but it clearly is. That's the difference between us being ultra competitive in games and picking up more points. Is a better striker.
I suppose the question, Mark, is whether Nkrumah actually, with him up top with Adakwa, they suddenly become a pair that can work together, and that will be interesting to see how that develops. And if that doesn't work, then Sean's probably run out of options in terms of how he's playing. You're right. It is. Everyone has been saying the same thing. It's not. People have been picking on. Sean has been relatively anonymous in most games, but there's clearly Sam Cox, believes in him, references how much he believes in him. But even he mentioned the last 2 games that he's been picking up a lot of criticism. So we know that we all know if you can get an Alex Reid type of player, we would get him in, and we would be far more potent inside. It is the obvious. I still think, as I said earlier, a Caraval type player would also add to the team, who is still available.
Yeah, but I think going back to loan market for strikers, I mean, we've had loan strikers for quite a number of seasons now, and in my mind, the only one that's really worked is Alex Reid. We've had people like Jay Bird and people like that just haven't clicked, or so it's not always is going to be the answer.
No,
but
there's no guarantees of anything. I think McFarlane this time last year was pretty good for us, albeit he didn't have so many games, but he was pretty effective when he was.
But not very effective at Solihull.
No.
Well,
you're jumping ahead in topics.
We'll come on to that.
Well, I noticed that Fella's been playing with Carroll in the PFA unsigned squad. So there are players there that are looking for clubs, whether we can afford them.
Richard Tom Malonga might want to come home for a season before he finally retires. I mean, he would be a unit up front, wouldn't he?
Oh yeah.
Mm. Yeah, I'd take that. Or Connor Wickham, but I don't know if these players are. I'm assuming they've
probably
got
not anywhere near in our radar.
He scored from the halfway line today.
I saw that. Yeah. I mean, Fella's an interesting one. Obviously, I think most people know he sort of was trialling with us in pre-season again on his release from Bromley. He's obviously still got ambitions to play in the Football League. It hasn't come about so far. Would you bring Fella back, knowing where the squad is now?
Where would you play him?
Well, that's what I mean. He's not, for me, that out-and-out striker that I think
No.
this is what the squad needs. You've got players like Nkrumah and Obiero and Enzio to a degree, who are those sort of, wing forward type players. So I would have taken him a few weeks ago. And we've still got, we haven't spoken about Nathan Young-Coombs, who obviously made quite an impact in his very brief cameo so far. Obviously injured again. I'm not entirely sure how long he's out for. I think I heard someone say he's not far away last night. But
Yeah, 2 weeks, I think.
Yeah.
But I mean, there's clearly something with NYC. It's whether he was only on a short contract anyway, whatever that means, and he's injury prone. So I
what
do
does
agree.
that mean? Do many of us know what that does mean? A short contract.
I read the program interview with him, and it seemed to suggest, because of his injury history, we'd basically signed him for a month. And obviously that month he's been injured. So I'm presuming he's a non-contract player that, we will pay as he plays, and he's probably got an opportunity to earn a longer deal. But clearly, whilst this injury doesn't seem to be the historical injury, he's obviously got a problem.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's park the squad there, and let's maybe now start casting our eyes forwards. Starting this weekend with a trip up to Lincolnshire. Is it Lincolnshire or is it Humberside? I think it's Lincolnshire still,
Lincolnshire,
isn't it?
technically.
It's Lincolnshire.
Yeah. Scunthorpe United, who've started the season well. I think they're unbeaten and would have been. Obviously, their game got abandoned in the 97th minute with quite a horrific head injury for one of their players and one of Eastleigh's. I think I've seen today through social media that both players have seem to be making a recovery, which is great, because I saw the clash of heads last night and it was horrific. But yeah, Scunthorpe. I mean, who went to Glanford Park on our only previous visit? The infamous 4-1. Yeah.
Oh yeah. That wasn't a great day.
That was Maynard, wasn't it? I think that was
Yeah.
Maynard.
Yes, Maynard.
Yeah, that was a disaster from start to finish.
Brigg was good. The town of Brigg was nice.
Yes, Brigg was nice. Brigg was nice. I must admit, I had Scunthorpe down as struggling. I don't think they'll go down, but I certainly wasn't expecting them to be unbeaten after 6-7 games, whatever it is, and they've started the season well. They've got some very.
Hillsy, it's only 4 games they've played. In fact, last night's game is annulled. Okay. So they've only actually played 4 games.
Okay.
But yeah, they're unbeaten. So was Southend.
Yeah, I was looking at my notes from pre-season, and admittedly I haven't updated them, so I'm not quite entirely sure if they brought players in since the start of the season. But obviously came up through the playoffs in National League North last year. They've got one of the outstanding players in this division in Cal Roberts, who we've come up against, I think, for Notts County before. But that aside, I believe they're quite a robust side. They've got some units in there. Danny Whitehall spearheads their attack. But probably the find for them so far has been a guy called Declan Howe, who I think they got from Gainsborough. He scored loads of goals in the leagues below, and I think he's got 3 or 4 already this season. So no games easy in the National League, of course. But what are we expecting? And after last night's result, can we go in there expecting to back it up?
I think we have to. When people, I think on our WhatsApp group, I think Tim called the result a transformative result yesterday. It's only transformative if we get a result on Saturday. Otherwise, it's just it's a run of the mill, home win. We've got to improve our away record. We haven't, that still weak, has been weak over the sort of the National League period. So I'm obviously now more confident than I was yesterday. of getting something there. I think we got a point there. I think we'd be pretty pleased, wouldn't we?
Yeah, absolutely. But I don't see any reason why we can't do better than that. I don't think their results are sort of a mixed bag. There's a few draws in there, I think. No, there's only one draw. But even so,
2 draws.
Is it two draws? Is it?
Yeah, Brackley and Halifax.
Okay, they haven't. Have they beaten anybody by more than a goal? I think they've been quite tight games. I did look earlier.
Woking 3-1.
Well, okay. So Woking, and that was before we played Woking. Woking were not great at the beginning of the season. I think it will be another competitive game that and it could go either way. We've got every chance of winning there. We haven't had a bad performance yet, really. I don't want to put the mockers on it, but every single game we're competitive, and we should have. Yeah,
it's those small margins, isn't it? Really, it's really how we perform in either box, and can we deliver when we need to? If we do, we can win. If we don't, we'll lose. It's very obvious.
Yeah, absolutely, it is.
I think also.
Yeah,
it depends how quick the players can recover from last night as well. See, it's a Tuesday night game. Really got, I don't know if they got one training session Thursday or Friday, and then we've got to travel up there as well. It's quite a long journey and stuff, but I'll be happy with a point.
Yeah, I would be happy with a point too, but I just think we can do better.
Yeah, I just looking at their results. So they've in theory. I mean, I know you assume last night, 97 minutes, long way to travel. They'll just leave the result as it was, which was a 1-1 draw, which will mean that they won their first 3 and they've drawn their next 3. They beat Tamworth away, beat Woking at home, beat Sutton away. They won their first 3, but then they've, in theory, had 3 1-1 draws at home to Halifax, away at Brackley, away at Eastleigh. So you could argue they've not played any of the big sides yet. But I think I'd take a point there. I think this is a sort of game, especially away from home. You expect the home side to come at you, partisan, home, northern crowd. I think for us, it's that those first 15, 20 minutes are really important. You've got to stay in the game, earn the right, and then I think the longer the game goes on with us in it, the more I'd fancy us to pick something up. Let me ask the question then: who's going?
Yep, I'll be there.
I think I'm going. I think last night
I've made a conscious decision this year to miss certain northern away games, and Scunny was definitely on top of the list, along with Gateshead and Hartlepool. Having said that, after yesterday, there's a little bit of a pang of I just jump in the car and go.
Yeah, I think that's what I'm doing. So Scunthorpe kicks off. Obviously, yesterday was September, but we've got a busy September, and again, we don't need to go into detail on all these games. But I see, when I look at the rest of September, I see, I hate to say it, but a presentable set of fixtures of teams who are not those top 4 or 5. So after Scunthorpe, it's Gateshead at home, Morecambe away, Tamworth away, Eastleigh at home, and then Brackley away. Although that's the 1st of October, but it's a group of fixtures that you're looking at, I think, and going. If you can pick up point and a half a game, a couple of wins in there, there's no reason why we can't come to end of September with 12 games down the line and still be knocking on the playoff doors. Anyone care to give me a points total for those, 6 games that we've got in September?
What was it? It's Gateshead?
So Scunthorpe away, Gateshead home, Morecambe away, Tamworth away, Eastleigh home, and then Brackley, which is 1st of October, but Brackley away.
In some ways, a lot of those teams that we're playing are sort of the teams we've struggled against in previous years because they're attritional. We don't really know much about Morecambe, but the rest of the sides are probably attritional, hardworking. Gateshead historically played us off the park more often than not. You could easily see us getting very few points from that. And I think this is going to be a real pointer to how we're going to do this season, because those 6 games, if we've got anything about us, we should be looking to win 3 or 4 of those. and I think that will set a proper marker of where we are.
Yeah, Eastleigh have been a bogey team of ours for a number of seasons, haven't they? Where they're nothing special, but they just seem to have this hoodoo over us. Tamworth did us last season big time, home and away. But I'd say 12 points if you include Southend.
We're all very glass half full after last night. Imagine
I think
after defeat last night.
Well, quite. If we continue to perform as we have been performing so far, then we'll pick up a decent amount of points there. I don't want to put a number on it particularly. It's just can we maintain our form? And if we can, things could look rosy at the end of September.
Yeah, and as we said, hopefully a signing or two coming in on the loan market as well, which might bolster that squad. Just as we talk about fixtures through the rest of the month, I'm going to give a plug to the coach. There's a coach running to Morecambe on Saturday the 20th. I'm just calling up the details now. Should have had it ready.
45 quid, 8 o'clock start.
What the man said. Yep. 8 a.m. 48. Yeah, it's a 2-driver job, which is why the price is a bit higher than it normally is. But 8 a.m. departure from the Vale, £45 adults and £20 for under 16s. So if you haven't already, you can book with Dave via the online wfcsc.demoed.co.uk. Get on it. Okay. That's on the field. We've spoken a lot about on the field. Let's take a moment to just have a little bit of a reflection off the field with a bit of a where are we? Where are we going? It's been a while since we sort of had Dom and Darren on, and lots has happened off the pitch. Let's maybe start with the Vale and the lease, because I think there was a statement that went out last week, the week before last, which is perhaps unpredictable to some, but the heads of terms that was sort of promised 6 weeks hasn't materialised, so the lease hasn't been extended yet. Let me just ask: any reflections on that? Anyone surprised? What does this mean? Anyone close to it?
Predictable, really. They've been troublesome company to deal with. I understand since we've been at the Vale. No surprise that something that was vaunted as going to happen hasn't happened. But it's quite good we got them all in front of the cameras and got the MP down and sort of made a big song and dance about it, because if they then start moving the goalposts, as it appears they are, it doesn't reflect particularly well on them, and they need to cultivate a relationship with London Borough of Hillingdon as well.
Yeah, that did seem rather strange that when you've done the photo shoot with the MP, pretty much saying it's all done and dusted. You just got to sign some paperwork, and then 6 weeks later on, there's been silence in the 6 weeks. You obviously hear a few rumours, and then we find that still things haven't been done, and they're moving the goalposts. As we know, as landlords, they have been difficult, and they have moved goalposts, and it is a challenge, and it's something we need to get signed, because it just unlocks everything else as we go along. So I feel for the board to have to deal with them, and and the challenges they face. But we all know it. They need to get it across the line.
And I think, if I recall, it was to do with a sort of a sudden change or desire to look at the rent, ultimately, some of the commercial terms in the agreement. So I don't know whether there's much to read between the lines or whether they're trying to curveball something. But very frustrating, although the board reiterated that they're confident it will get signed soon.
They have said that a number of times over the years.
Yes. We were chatting in a WhatsApp group that I've got with Dom and Darren today, actually, and Darren's given me sort of permission to share this. But I'm saying this to sort of, it's a bit of a, not a loaded question, but a little bit of context to where I'm going to go with this. But a lot of people have referenced how many kids were in the ground last night, and obviously the community aspect of supporting Wealdstone continues to grow and grow, with our average crowd going up to, was it nearly 1,600 last year? And I know that the board, their next target is an average crowd of 2,000. And Darren said, we're selling more and more under 16 season tickets every week. We've already gone past the number for the entirety of last season. They were selling right until April. We could be up to nearly 700 under 16 season tickets in the next week or so if our form continues. So the reason I'm saying that is because, and it's again on the back of the Vale night under the lights and everything we've built at the Vale. Of course, the desire here and the plans are for us to move a couple of miles down the road to Hillingdon. And I know we've spoken about it, and I know what we think we're going to get there. How does that sit with you guys to leave the Vale? Is it a risk? Are you happy to leave the Vale? Are you happy to go to Hillingdon?
I think we've spoken about this quite a lot, and whether privately, our WhatsApp groups or in the pub or whatever. I think it's going to be a huge wrench to leave the Vale, because I think the Vale as a location, with the number of train stations around it, the residential, the schools, everything and everyone in the local area, and Mark did a lot of work in the early years, have really bought into this football club being where it is. And so to move it 2 miles away in a more isolated spot is a huge risk, because so many of our supporters actually just walk to the ground. And that's part of what they do on a Saturday, whether they drink at the Legion, whether they drink at the Spoons or Hennessy's or Hop and Vine, they go there, they drink, they go to the ground, they go to the clubhouse. So it will be a huge wrench, but it's progress. Progress is not going to be at the Vale because of a multitude of factors that we already know, and part of that is the landlords. So we have to move, and we'll have to take the risk. And most clubs that move to a new ground that's still in their town, which will still be in the town, I suppose, succeed. You look at Boston. Boston have gone from a town centre ground to a fantastic facility on the edge of town. York have done exactly the same thing and are flourishing. So there's absolutely no reason why we won't flourish, because we'll have so much better facilities. And to be honest, an average 13, 14, 15-year-old, even on a midweek game, is going to get on a train to go 2 stops to a new stadium, where hopefully we've got a great side, big crowds. So yes, huge wrench, but it's progress.
Yeah, well, it is, and I think it'll be great for the younger generations to follow hopefully a successful team in a nice plush surroundings. But yeah, it's going to be a massive wrench to leave the Vale. Most of us have watched most of our Wealdstone supporting lives at the Vale, and we've seen it build up from what it was. Yes, it's a massive emotional attachment to it. If only we could make it work there. I know it doesn't seem that we can. But yeah, I for one will be very, very upset when we finally leave that place. But yeah, there are reasons why we need to do it. But yeah, I wish we didn't have to.
Yeah, it's a shame. Where we sit, we're at the centre of the community. A friend of mine mentioned then, so he doesn't even like football, but she says, you drive past and all we can see is all these families and people all walking down the road towards Grosvenor Vale, and it's a great thing. But as these guys say, we've got to do it, and who knows? We may be able to move the fan base we've got over there, and hopefully we will, and then we may all pick up some more people from the other side of the A40 that we're happy to come along and see some football. So we've got to look at it positive. It's progress. It'll be a nice shiny new ground. As I say,
is there any? Sorry, Chris, go on.
Go on.
No, is there any club in the country that will have the name of the club so far away from its geographical source from where it started? I wonder if there will be some sort of clamour for renaming. It's been talked about before, only sort of sort of half joking level. But
I saw Mr. Albert will mention the Woolwich Arsenal.
Well, I suppose so. Yeah, but they're no
I
longer
think
called. They're no longer called that, are they? So
No, true.
I think it's a really interesting point, though, Mark. Sorry, Chris. Go on. You finish, mate.
No. Yeah, no, it's fine. Go on.
I think, Mark, your question was kind of where I was going next about the geographical link to the place of Wealdstone, because it's and look, we've not played there for 30 whatever it is now, but it's another step further away. I think it'll be 8 miles away from Wealdstone, and I guess maybe the answer would differ between sort of the different generations. Some of the newer generations would not have that emotional attachment to the place Wealdstone, but does that bother you that we're nowhere near the place Wealdstone anymore? There's no connection to the geographical place.
It doesn't bother me. There's no life, no future. We can see what happens at Prince Edward playing fields. They can't attract local support. So we're in the perfect place for us, probably in northwest London or West London, to site a football club. And that's I think that's the bigger picture, is we are in the perfect place. And by moving 2 miles away, does that change that anymore, or does actually going into a new stadium and everything else that brings gives us? I think the name bit's irrelevant. We are Wealdstone Football Club because that's who we are, and it doesn't. In many ways, we're still in. I mean, the slight change will we won't have a HA postcode. So actually,
it's a deal breaker.
Sorry.
It's a deal breaker, the non-HA postcode.
Yeah, absolutely.
Can we not get the post office to change?
But the fact, that it was always that little thing that you hung on to. It's still a HA postcode, and we won't have a HA postcode. But it doesn't matter. We aren't. I think people like Darren, etc., would say differently because they have a lot of tentacles into Harrow schools. But we're now Football Club of Hillingdon, and that's where we are based. People like Chris and all the people he comes with all live in Hillingdon or in the borough of Hillingdon. Our support base now is way more than 50% from the borough of Hillingdon. We have nothing to do with Wealdstone anymore, apart from we carry a name.
So, yes, someone just sort of mentioned it there, and this is obviously purely hypothetical, but if that did then coincide with a desire, potentially with maybe some investor coming in, I know it's been mooted before, but given everything we just said there, what if someone came in and said, actually, we're gonna do an Ebbsfleet. We're not going to be Gravesend and Northfleet anymore. We're going to be Ebbsfleet to be more representative of the place we're from. What happens if we wanted to be Hillingdon Stones or something like that?
It's uncomfortable, isn't it?
It is.
Yeah.
Because none of the
Nobody
songs
wants it. Yeah, we'll probably be Hillingdon Raiders, won't we, or something?
But as Sudhir said, does it matter? We're a club. We are relocated too many times. We've gone to Hertfordshire. Went to Hillingdon. We went back to Harrow. And the club still is going from strength to strength. We crowd 2,300. I think was it last night. We're going from strength to strength. Does the name and location matter anymore? We are Wealdstone, aren't we?
I think the name matters.
Yeah, I know, but what I mean is
it's kind of like
we are Wealdstone.
It's a branded club, isn't it? We've lost the attachment to the geographical area, but I would say if you do a search on social media for the word Wealdstone, the most hits you get are about the football club rather than the geographical area. I mean, if you think of rugby, half the teams in rugby don't have a geographical name in their title, but then that's rugby. In football, things are tribal. It's about, clubs grew up around their towns. And it's still a big thing.
Yeah.
You talk about rugby, and Saracens are no longer where they were originally based. Wasp
down the country.
Were were nowhere near where they were originally based. So it's not unusual in rugby for that to happen. So why is it that different for us? That we've 30 odd years we've got away with it, and it hasn't really mattered. We've played. People have tried to say, "Oh, you should be changing your name." Opposition supporters, mainly from failing local clubs. But at the end of the day, we are Wealdstone Football Club. Whether we're in Wealdstone, Watford, Yeading, Northwood, Edgware, Ruislip, or Hillingdon, that's who we are.
I mean, I hate to use the phrase really, but I'm going to say it anyway. Wealdstone is the brand.
Yes,
what I was about to say, the concept.
Yeah, exactly, and it's
an abstract concept.
Yeah, but it's a football club, but it is the brand. That's our name, and I've thought about it many times over the years. Should we become Wealdstone Manor or whatever? But no, we're Wealdstone, and it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter where we are compared to our name. We are Wealdstone. That is us. That's who we are.
Yeah, no, good shout. Good shout. Right, I think we've covered much of the agenda, but chaps, let me kind of give the floor to you. Is there any AOBs or anything else you wanted to bring to the table before we wrap up?
Probably just talk about a couple of managerial changes.
Yes,
in the non-league game.
Yes.
Who are you referring to?
Well, there's obviously Stuart Maynard has moved to York City, who obviously replacing Hinshelwood, who, if the rumours were true, Stuart's recommended to Wealdstone when he left us. So it's a continuation. I mean, Stuart, I think he's got a very long deal there, hasn't he? Because that was part of the reason that Hinshelwood was removed. So he's got a 4-year deal. He's going to have to go up. He's going to have to get promoted pretty much this year, I would have thought, or certainly he might get a little bit of grace this year. But I think it's a great appointment for him. It's probably the best appointment he probably could have got, bearing in mind what happened. Otherwise, you would end up at a lower League 2 side, probably less resources than York have. So I think he's landed on his feet really well, and hopefully, it's a really good success for him.
Well, I echo that, but I'm not sure it's the best club he could have got because, as we know, the promotion is a very narrow funnel to get out of that league, and there was big expectation at York. His style of football is possibly not conducive to sort of beating teams 3 and 4 like their fan base will expect. There'll be a lot of 1-0s and 2-1s and what have you, and possibly a few draws in there. So yeah, I think I think he probably could have found a better fit, but it sounds like financially it's great. And if he gets sacked, then he'll probably get paid out his contract. So no losers there. It's a managerial merry-go-round.
But also, he's got to put up with a young man there with a train set.
True. Yeah.
So, but yeah, no. Good luck to him.
It was an interesting one because, if I recall, it played out very quickly. It was a sort of 10 a.m. Hinshelwood had gone, and by 2 p.m. they'd announced Maynard. So it'd clearly been, I think, reading some of what had been going on behind the scenes. I think there was some unrest with Hinshelwood over the summer, and I think there was he going? So I think it had been in the making. It certainly made me think, well, I definitely want to go to York now this season, even though last year's York debacle was a nightmare. Here's a question for you. I think most people had York down as their title favourites. I don't know where they were for you, but do you think York have got a better chance or a worse chance with Maynard in charge of going up?
I think that's a really good question, because if we were being really honest about Stuart when he managed us, he was brilliant at keeping us up, and he was brilliant. And that was the DNA of what he was used to doing. There was always this sort of concern that whether there was a different style that he could play to get a side promoted. So if you look at the main criticism he got at Notts County was around the inability to win matches, particularly at home. I think his away record was pretty good, but it's the inability to win matches at home. And he's going to face the same pressures at York, I suspect, with a very expectant crowd, probably a bit of a megalomaniac chairman. So the pressures are going to be much more severe. Are York more likely to go up than they were before? I don't know.
No, I don't either. But yeah, it's going to be interesting, that's for sure.
My man is on watch there anyway, but I think with the quality of players they've got there, I think they're definitely going to be back into the playoffs. I don't think they'll do much better than that. I mean, they're already playing catch up because their ground's being used for the ladies' World Cup. So
utter nonsense, that, isn't it? You look at the league table. There's some teams they've only played 4 games.
Yeah, I'm looking at the live table right now on their 20th.
Yes, so am I. Yeah, it's crazy.
So Stuart Maynard has replaced Adam Hinchelwood at York. There's been 3 others. We'll come to the most recent one in a sec. We should also reference that Mark Cooper left Yeovil last week after their disastrous threw away 3-goal lead at home to Gateshead and lost 4-3. And of course, Morecambe replaced Derek Adams and brought in Joval Singh, I think his name is.
Answer Singh, isn't it? Oh.
Yeah.
Whatever.
And of course, today, finally, I don't think anyone was surprised after another defeat last night. Matt Taylor has been removed of his duties at Solihull Moors, with them bottom of the table with just 3 points from 7 games. So there's already talk that Mark Cooper may be the man to take over at Solihull. I think James Quinn has taken the reins for their game against Boston at the weekend. But anyone surprised? I don't think anyone's surprised.
You have to ask the question: has there been a worse managerial record of a manager at 4 different clubs in the recent times of football? I mean, he had a disaster at Warsaw. Didn't do well at Shrewsbury, though he sort of cited the reasons. With us, we've got to be very thankful for the fact that we got to the second round of the FA Cup and they pulled off the miracle draw on the last day of the season. But it's god awful football, wasn't it? When he managed us, we didn't really set the world alight. It's the biggest budget we've ever had in our history. And then he went to Solihull, and I think he won 1 game on his own, and the only other games he won was when Jerry Gill was involved. Otherwise, they probably would have gone down. So he's had 4 terrible managerial.
I think each club got smaller and smaller as well, didn't it? As it was, so is that the end of his managerial career? I would think it is. But
who's going
to people get seduced by the name, don't they? They go, "Oh yeah, I remember him from Premier League. He'll be good."
Exactly. Yeah. You look at what what we're benefiting from now, what we could have had, and I know there were probably some reasons at the time, but look at what we've got now and what we could have had and what we actually got. It's my biggest disappointment is that it probably means that Solihull may not be in the relegation.
It's too soon, isn't it? They should have given him at least another month.
Yeah, exactly. Get 20 games under his belt.
Yeah.
I mean, he got some. I mean, Solihull are some of the most, dispassionate fans in this division, and yet he was getting dogfuls of abuse, particularly on Saturday. So for that sort of fan base to turn so badly against him probably says a lot.
Yeah, I hear you. Okay, I'm just looking at some goals are going in tonight. Carlisle have just taken the lead against Brackley, and Truro have just got a leveller in their game against Aldershot.
Apparently, Marcus Dewhurst's been sent off at Truro.
Oh, was he?
Oh, yeah.
And what about poor old Aldershot have had, was it Truro midweek? They had Morecambe for the weekend. Is that right?
I think they're at home to Morecambe. I think weren't they away at Gateshead actually for the weekend?
Way to Gateshead, and then they get
Truro.
someone just as bad up north again.
But I think Scunthorpe arrived home very early hours this morning, I think, as well. So that could go in our favour, maybe Saturday.
Yes. I'm also up to Scunthorpe. Just one other little AOB to mention. Some of you may be aware that we've spoken a bit about the community. There is, I think, again, a Wealdstone Football Club ladies team who are. I think there was one a few years ago. I think Mark Barton was involved, but there hasn't been for a few years now. But yeah, the ladies team is back up and running. They've just completed their pre-season with a hammering of. I think it's Fareham Town or someone like that, and they're just about to start in their league. StonesCast has sponsored one of the ladies' players, Emma O'Hare-Doyley, and we'll hopefully be getting the. I guess there's a lady called Gabby. She's kind of she's playing and she's kind of running the team alongside. I forget his name. Is it Sai? Who's the manager?
Sai something.
We'll hopefully be getting Gabby on in a cast in the next few weeks to come and tell us a little bit more about how the ladies' team are going. Cool. Have we covered everything, chaps?
I think so.
Hour and 17 minutes. Sounds good. Well, chaps, as always, really appreciate your time.
Good. Thank you.
So last thing, I think there was a heads up going to be happening for men mental health at the club. Is it Wednesday 7 till 8 or something? I'm thinking of the program, looking for it. But again, just let people aware of that facility.
Yeah, and both of the charities involved there have presences online that you can follow and get more information on. But yeah, that's a great shout, Chris. Good. Okay, well, I say thank you, chaps. Pleasure as always to chat. Hopefully see some of you at Scunthorpe on Saturday. And as always, up the Stones.
Up the Stones.
Up the Stones.